everybody, thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be taking a look at PALLA by Paolo Bacilieri. This is out by Hollow Press. This is the English edition, so this is something that's published in both English and Italian, which I think is the case for a lot of Hollow Press's books. And it's a fairly limited thing of only 250 copies, so if you find this interesting, definitely make sure to go get yourself one before they are out. It's a black and white book, but on the end papers here, you get a nice little piece where it's colored in and gives you a look at maybe how the artist would have treated this book if it was in color. There is color in here, but it's mostly black and white. This is a very, very strange book, and I don't know what to make of it. There are kind of two things juxtaposed against each other in here that I'm not entirely sure I know how they go together. So I'm curious if other people have read this, what they think of it. And it's just, sometimes that's good. I have to ponder over it. Like, this is very intentional. I have to assume the artist isn't crazy. They did this for a reason. I just can't pick out what that is, which is sometimes that's good. I like to mull over a book. So here we're in Milan in August of 2016, and we're introduced to Fabrizio, who admits to us right away that he's obnoxious. And then it reflects back to 1996 when he had an absurd job, and his absurd job was just that he was basically running some kind of like lottery scam, I think is what's described here, with someone from IBM figured out a lottery scam. So anyways, he's working this job and he pulls over to take a piss, and he finds this like ball of flesh. And this is in color. You get this like sickly kind of pink there. So he finds this ball of flesh that has like an orifice, and that's it, and it like telepathically communicates with him. And it says it's the softest, silkiest skin of the most beautiful woman. That skin was like shark skin compared to this. So this is like the most beautiful skin he's ever touched. It feels so great. And he takes this thing home, and it's like communicating with him, and he seems to have some kind of relationship with it. So that's like the first 18 pages. Then pages 19 through 22 are the story of Jesus in the tomb, and you get Mary leading the band of women over to the tomb like after Jesus has died, and you get like the tomb being open. And then we jump back to Fabrizio with his little flesh ball there that he's obviously having a sexual or some kind of romantic relationship with, while on the other side of the story we have Mary worshiping at the feet of Jesus, freshly out of the tomb with the wounds in his hand, and she's calling him Rabbi, Rabboni, like teacher. And it's hard not to make visual comparisons between the Jesus and the naked guy humping the ball here. So I don't know what that's about. And then this flesh ball thing is telling Fabrizio that it's going to die in a few days' time. So it starts to become a story about mourning in that sense, and the death of this thing that you love. And that basically ends with this like heron flying off. Beautiful composition and everything. And then you basically end with like this scene of Jesus going out and calling his disciples in from the shore. And they bring the fish in from the shore, and they feed the masses. And then Jesus says, "Very truly I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go." Which is the closest I can see to a summation of what this might actually be about. Which is, it's obviously about loving something, and then that thing dying with Jesus coming back to life. I think there's some suggestion of the way that things can live on as a story, maybe, or a memory, that things can still impact the world after their death. That's the best I can kind of come to conclusion with this. I like, looking at this kind of afterward here, and the think there was no, there wasn't a forward. Yeah, in the afterwards, there's a suggestion that like the interest in flesh, related to Jesus, this interest in the flesh of Christ and things like that. But I really don't see a guy finding and having a suspiciously romantic relationship with a ball of perfecter than perfect skin having anything to do with like the body or flesh of Christ. So I don't know. It's a strange book. I don't know what to make of it. I think the art's really cool. If it would have just been a story about this guy finding this weird ball, that would have been strange. And if it would have just been the story of Jesus, that would have been interesting. But the two of them together, I don't know what to make of it. It's a very strange book. So if other people have read this, I'm curious what you think about it. If you find it compelling and want to get yourself a copy, like I said, it's a limited edition of 250, at least the English edition. So go ahead and get yourself a copy, read it, let me know what you think. It's got nice art all the way throughout, beautiful production, nice little hardcover book, but just very, very strange. I don't know what to make of it. If you enjoy what we're doing here on the channel and want to support us, there's two ways to do that. First way is through our Patreon. We have two different tiers of engagement on the Patreon. The first one's just early access to the books. At the second tier, you get to participate in our ongoing webcomic experiment, Prane Day, and get exclusive previews of the books that Sean and I are working on. Any of the money that we make from Patreon just goes back into buying the books that we review, so we really appreciate that help keeping this whole thing rolling. If you want to support Living the Line Publishing, or Living the Line itself, really the best thing to do is support Living the Line Publishing and what Sean's doing with that side of things. So we'll go ahead and take a look at one of his projects now. Sala Niyalo, Path of the Shades by Clarence Doss is a really cool ongoing project that Living the Line will be producing. Clarence is a PhD student from Fiji who's studying the myths of Fiji for his doctoral thesis. And part of that study project is that he's producing these comics. They're kind of like Hellboy, where there's these little short stories that capture all of these different mythologies. But then he's using that to wrap the project into his doctoral thesis and then provide educational material where people can come to these comics. They don't have to read his PhD thesis. They can come to the comics and get a more consumable version of the mythology of Fiji.
Like and subscribe and hit the bell, please, so Carson can finish reading his books and let me go home.